Hi there, Steve Postel here at Katona Studios in Los Angeles. Today I'm going to talk about why and how I became a fan and a convert to PRS guitars, Paul Reed Smith guitars. But to get there, I need to talk a little bit about history, both mine as a player and just guitar history in general. Most of you know all of what I'm going to tell you now, but I'm going to go through it anyway. So for the past 70 years or so, there have been three primary guitars, electric guitars, that have sort of set the standard. And there's the Stratocaster by Fender, and the Telecaster by Fender, and the Gibson Les Paul. And they set the standard, and it's never really changed. What has changed, and those are the main three categories, because what happened was, apparently, I asked a guy at Fender about this. The makers, both Leo Fender and Les Paul, felt it was important to copyright the headstock, and it just didn't occur to them that people would imitate these body shapes. And of course, by the time they decided to try to copyright or trademark the body shape, there were thousands of them. So now we just call it either Strat style or S style, or T style, and Les Paul either LP style or a single cutaway SC, you'll see that, which just means it's that style and that shape. Interestingly, about the headstock thing, in about 1980 or 81, I got a call from my friend Jack Sony, who unfortunately passed away recently. Jack worked at a great music store called Rudy's Music Stop on 48th Street in New York City. Eventually went on to play with Dire Straits. Jack called me and said, "Hey, I just got in these really cool Strat copies, but they're amazing. And Mark Knopfler just bought 10 of them. I think you should come down. You might want one." So I did go down, and I got, which I still have, this guitar right here. It's a Fernandez. It's a really elegant copy of a, I think, 56 or 57 Strat. And if you'll notice, that is the Fender headstock. Well, sure enough, Fender found out about it, put an injunction on it, and this was the only shipment of these. They're called the lawsuit Fernandez guitars. They kept making guitars, but they changed the headstock. So this is obviously, this was my main guitar in the 80s. And then I played a lot of Fender Strats. And so Strat was my main guitar. And the second kind of guitar that is predominant in this guitar history is the Telecaster, or T-shape. And again, a lot of people make them. This one, which I have, is actually from G&L Guitars. You can see it there. Beautiful instrument. G&L was actually the company that Leo, the L, Fender, went to after he left Fender. So this still has a connection with Fender, but there's many Telecaster style guitars. And then, of course, there's the Les Paul, or LP, or single cutaway. And here's one. Again, I'm specifically showing you non-Gibson or Fender versions. This beauty is made by a company called Harley Benton. And it's not an expensive guitar, but with stainless steel frets and maple top and rosewood neck. This is a gorgeous guitar. But again, this is made in the style and made to do what a Les Paul guitar does. So now there's some honorable mention styles, which I'll get to in a second. What's interesting about these guitars is that they've never gone out of fashion. The honorable mention, I would say, would be hollow body and semi-hollow body. So let me go grab a couple of those and show you what the deal is with those guitars as well. So although those are the primary shapes or styles, there's many hundreds of guitar shapes, but there's two styles that go far back that I think deserve mention. they're not as defined by one guitar, or one of them is. One of them is a semi-hollow body guitar, which like Robin Ford and Larry Carlton made famous. The main one that people copy is the Gibson 335, 345, 355. This is one of my prize guitars. This is the third electric guitar I ever owned, and I'm smart enough to keep it. This is a 1970 335. Beautiful guitar, semi-hollow, which means there's a block of wood. And the other style that has been around forever is a hollow body, which was used by jazz players like George Benson and rockabilly and Bill Haley and Brian Setzer. And so these are fully hollow. This is by Dean. Again, the originals are Guild and Gretsch, but you can see how nice this is. And so those are sort of, to me, the 5 styles of guitars that everything else is an offshoot of, and they've lasted all these years. One of the things that's interesting with the internet these days is an incredible time, actually, because of the internet, to be a musician, particularly a guitar player. There's so much commentary, lessons, demonstrations of equipment. You can find out, I mean, that's where I find out a lot about what's coming out, what's new. And then there's a lot of disagreement, and I hate this, I love this. But one thing is, there's really, not that I know of, any substantial videos like, I hate Strats, I hate Les Pauls, I hate Telecasters. Those are just, it wouldn't fly. But what I have noticed is there are plenty of videos, Paul Reed Smith guitars, PRS guitars are overrated, why I don't like them, why I would never play them. As many as there are, not as many, there's many more of how great they are. So what I wanted to talk about is being someone who just played Strats, Teles, Les Pauls and 335s for 30 years, how I came about falling in love with these kind of guitars. I had a little bias. They seemed almost too nice, and they had all these celebrities. I don't trust celebrities. That's a bias, of course, endorsing them. So I thought maybe it was a hype thing, So I was a little not inclined to go really play one or try one. But a few things happened. One, and the primary reason, was I got in this band called The Immediate Family. The Immediate Family is one of those rare bands that has 3 guitar players. So the rhythm section, which is, in my opinion, the best in the world, is Leland Sklar on bass and Russ Kunkel on drums. 3 guitar players are myself and Waddy Wachtel and Danny Korchmar. Well, that's a lot to live up to, and it was a challenge, how do I fit in with these brilliant, iconic guitar players? One thing I found early on was that Waddy, as he's known for his Les Pauls, particularly his beautiful white Les Paul that he's played for all these years, worth a lot of money. And Danny was known, I would say, primarily for Telecasters, but for Stratocasters as well. So for me to find a sound that wasn't one of those things seemed to be the key. I'm sort of taking the role sometimes of what a keyboard player might do, so I'm counted on for more color and being able to do more with color and to differentiate myself from the two of them, so we have this guitar army where everyone has their place. I happened to be at NAMM right when the year we started, and I was specifically looking for a guitar that didn't sound like a Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul. And it just so happened that someone said, hey, Paul Reed Smith would like to meet you. Let me schedule a meeting with you, because he knows about the band. And I met with Paul, and he's a wonderful guy and a real lover of music and of instruments, of course. And he said, why don't you, let me set you up with one of these guitars. And of course, the minute I put it in my hands, they're stunningly made, and they feel great right off the bat. So that's how I came to have one in my hands, and that was the impetus behind trying it. So Paul introduced me to his friend Win Krozak, who runs the PRS shop at Center Staging in Los Angeles, and said, go check some stuff out. So I played a lot of different guitars, and I will say this, every one of them is so beautifully made. There isn't a fret sprouting out. There isn't an imperfection that I could see on any guitar I played. So I was incredibly impressed. They all feel beautiful to play. Eventually I settled on something called a special. Remember that what I wanted was something with a lot of color variations, as well as it doesn't sound like one of those main three guitars. And aside from that it does all that, it is stunningly beautiful. This is a special. Now, this has so many different variations of sounds, and again, that's what I love and that's what I'm looking for. So, it's got two humbuckers. Let's leave out what this is for a second. So it's got the typical. And then you have both of them. And then you have this one. And then you have the middle position, which is the two of them together. And then you have these, which split them both, so I can go from to this, more of a single coil. And you can split this one, same thing, same idea. And in the middle, they're both split. Now, what it does that's very unique, which I love, is this pickup is never used alone. What it does, when you engage this in position 2, it brings this in and gives you that strat thing where you're in the middle of pickups 1 and the middle pickup on a strat. So, and then this one is that and that. Very clever. So that's a lot of coloration for one guitar. And aside from that, the neck is just super slinky and comfortable. Just a spectacular guitar. So my conclusion was that I love this guitar. I love all their guitars. And I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think some people are jealous because these guitars are very popular. He's done an amazing job with this company. This, by the way, is also semi-hollow, so it has the block in the middle, so it gives it even more of its own color. So this is what I use often with the immediate family and just recording in general. And that's my little guitar history of how I went from your typical Strat Teles Les Paul player to playing one of these guitars and being a big fan. That's it from Katona Studios here in Los Angeles. I'm Steve Postel, and I'll see you next time. Check me out if I'm playing one of these or not.